The launch zone is by stealing Jeremiah Moon's watch, the head of the whole space expedition. Stealing the watch means stealing the rocket. The catch? Moon never takes it off, but recently a shot opened up. A wedding he's planning to attend. Ms. Tarantula gets all hyped, and Kitty lays out the rest. The wedding is invite only and swarming with security, so they gotta get real creative. Shark pretends to be a florist, while Shadow sneaks in disguised as a waitress. Kitty mentions Moon wears these special glasses that tell him who's worth talking to. Anyone flagged gets a 30-second convo with the guy. The plan kicks off. First, Piranha handles the security while Snake works on a real tricky lock. He says picking locks is like romance. Starts off easy till all the defenses melt away. After killing the powered, Pigtail poses as a techie, and Ms. Tarantula jumps in to hack the system. Finally, Wolf shows up at the party playing the role of a tycoon named Billy Lobato. Ms. Tarantula messes with Moon's glasses, and they manage to get FaceTime. Once everyone wraps their part, they all wait for Wolf to make the move. But then Snake and Shadow start flirting, and she ends up dropping her gun right onto the bride's head, knocking her out cold. Meanwhile, Wolf convinces Moon they should team up. They shake hands, but that's when Sullivan, the rich guy from the start, shows up. Wolf tries to stay low-key so he don't get spotted, but Moon's gotta bounce. Kitty, pissed, confronts Wolf and demands to know if he's sabotaging the whole op. But that ain't all. Shark walks in with the bride and turns out she's totally sedated. Then the priest steps in and Shark knocks him out, blowing the whole plan to pieces. Kitty, pissed off, threatens Wolf, who swears he'll do whatever it takes to get the watch back. The bride finally shows up to the wedding, while Ms. Tarantula cheers with excitement. Wolf dresses up as the bride, and Moon, not suspecting a thing, tells her she looks beautiful that day. But wait, there's more. Sullivan figures out who Wolf really is. Right in the middle of the ceremony, Shark shows up pretending to be the priest, so Sullivan cuts the whole thing off and tells Moon the truth. But when he pulls the veil off, he realizes Moon had already switched places with Wolf. In the end, Moon gets kicked out of the wedding while the crew takes off with the loot. Kitty, real curious, asks Wolf how he pulled it off, and he starts breaking it all down. The heist had 3 steps. First, set the bait, then flip the script, and finally score the prize. So first they got Sullivan to believe who Wolf really was. Then they made him think the bride was the fake. And last, they tricked him all the way through. That's how they managed to get away with it. Meanwhile, over in prison, Marmalade's still messing around with Diane, who's already looking bored out of her mind. Marmalade goes on about how the game's all about brains, strategy, and more than anything, knowing how to outsmart your enemy. And hey, it ain't every day the governor comes by to chat about magnetic terraforming. He tells her that MacGuffinite is like the opposite of gold, and when you hit it with extreme voltage, it turns into a giant gold magnet. Why bother robbing a bank, he says with a smirk, when the gold could just come to you. Diane thanks him for the chat, but right before she leaves, Marmalade tells her she wasn't the only one who came to see him. Turns out someone else was there a few days back. Curious, Diane checks the older recordings and finds out where Kitty's been hiding, her secret lair. Pigtail, on the other hand, feels down because she knows that after this last job, chances are they won't see each other again. Meanwhile, Shadow asks Snake not to hold a grudge over the whole fake relationship. Even though they both deny catching feelings, they end up admitting they actually like each other. Elsewhere, Wolf's talking with Kitty. She explains the only way to get him back in the game was by framing him. That way she could force him out of retirement. Now that she's got what she wanted, she's ready to hand him the USB. But first, she tells him about her very first heist, how the first thing she ever stole was a lollipop. Back in school, the teacher only gave lollipops to the good kids, and she was always the one left out. One day, when she noticed no one was watching, she stole all the lollipops. Since then, if anyone wanted one, they had to come to her. That was the first time she felt powerful. The more heists she pulled off, the more respect she earned. She asks him why he'd want to leave a life like that. She thinks his new mindset is naive. People don't forget, no matter how much you try to change and prove you can do good. She tells him to give up hope and just enjoy the lollipop. Those words made him think, but still, Wolf walks away. When they all meet up, Wolf asks if they managed to record Kitty's confession. Once they have it, the next step is to visit Grunya's and hand over the tape. But his friends notice Wolf is distracted and ask what's wrong. He wonders aloud, what if they picked the wrong path? But his friends reassure him, saying that now they'll all be seen as heroes and get a better life. When they start the car, they find out it's out of gas. That's when the bad girls show up, chaining them up with gold. They lay out their plan. Use the MacGuffinite to send it into space and turn it into a giant magnet, pulling off the biggest heist in history. Plus, to add drama, they plan to leak Diane's video and expose her truth to the whole world. The only way to stop it would be to press a button, but that button activates the magnet. They gotta stay chained up until the cops arrive, making sure no one finds out Diane's secret. After all, these girls really were bad and planned to betray them from the start. Days ago, Kitty met secretly with Marmalade, and together they cooked up this plan. Shadow calls the cops, and even though things are tight, Snake's still in love with her. The crew's not ready to give up, but when they pull out the USB, the video keeps loading. As the girls break into the facility, Red tries to hack the system but fails. Only 4 seconds left. As a last resort, Wolf suggests throwing the laptop into the forge. But when they try, it doesn't fall, and the video finishes loading completely. Grunez shows up ready to arrest them. When the girls try to board the rocket, Diane stands her ground. She knew their plan, and after taking them down, she declares them under arrest. Kitty mocks her, asking if she didn't already know about the video. Now everyone knows the truth. Hundreds of messages flood in, and suspicion against her spreads fast. Right then, someone shoots Diane with a tranquilizer dart, and barely conscious, she manages to get on the rocket. The news breaks that Diane Foxington was actually the famous Scarlet Claw. Meanwhile, Dr. Marmalade has been released, while the bad guys remain behind bars. Wolf tries to convince Grunez, but his words don't stick. She still doesn't trust them. The girls activate the rocket, and just when all seems lost, Grunez puts her faith back in them. The group hugs her and spills everything about Kitty, the rocket, and what went down. And like fate confirming it, the rocket fires up right then. The villains decide to board the rocket, and just before jumping in, Grunez warns them that when this is over, they'll end up in jail. Wolf thanks her for everything, and the group fights to get on the rocket, even though they're at a disadvantage. They try to open the door as the alarm blares, but the girls pay no mind. Moon arrives at the station while the bad girls reach the space station and keep pushing their plan. Despite the freezing cold, the bad guys realize climbing up without a suit wasn't their smartest move. Right then, they watch Pigtail create the magnet with the MacGuffinite using energy cells. Once the device is ready, they've got a plan to stop him. The villains suit up in space gear, scared but cautious. Ms. Tarantula and Shark take on hacking the system. Piranha and Snake are set to shut down the power. And finally, Wolf will face Kitty. As they split up, Ms. Tarantula leads Shark, though he doesn't understand a single word she says. Snake tells Piranha not to get nervous, but as he tries, he starts letting out farts. The magnet powers up and a flood of messages hits the world's rich. Everyone's gold starts floating into the air. Meanwhile, Marmalade jumps into his golden car and blasts off into space. Wolf sneaks into the station just as the gold piles up. Piranha panics. The bad girls spot them and watch Snake float out of control. Shadow begs him to stop. She doesn't want to hurt him. Kitty meanwhile slugs Wolf and tells him the plan has to keep going, no matter the cost. She cranks up the magnet's power, and the world descends into chaos. A gold storm begins wrecking the city. While Kitty celebrates, Wolf calls her out, saying that sometimes the word gold sounds made up. He kindly asks her to turn off the magnet, or he'll do it himself. They both struggle for control. Snake and Piranha keep floating in space, trying to find a way to stay safe. During the fight, Kitty asks Wolf why he's risking everything for people who never gave him a chance. She reminds him that back when he was the big bad wolf, at least they respected him. Now he's just a joke. But Wolf fires back that what she felt for him wasn't respect. It was fear. Respect, he tells her, is something you earn, and he hopes someday she'll understand that. The fight rages on, and Kitty smashes the switch. But Wolf's real plan wasn't to shut down the magnet. It was to steal the watch. Once he gets it, he activates the rocket to save himself. Piranha, desperate, pops a hole in his suit to boost himself forward, while Wolf crashes the rocket into the magnet to destroy it. The gold rains back down to Earth, and at the last second, Shadow saves Snake, who finally admits his feelings for her. Kitty's furious and demands how they're gonna get back to Earth. Suddenly, she grabs Wolf by the throat, and just when it looks like she's about to finish him off, Diane steps in to save him. Seeing her, he doesn't hesitate. He pulls her into a hug. She kisses him, and he jokes, asking what happened to that just friends thing. Diane says that now that she's no longer governor, she can afford to bend the rules a little. The group congratulates them, and everyone joins in a big hug. Pigtail and Shadow come over too, but right then, the rocket starts breaking apart. They're about to crash into Earth. Each of them accepts this bitter fate, though Wolf ain't ready to give up so easy. He wants to find a way out, but before he can say more, the scene cuts to his funeral. Finally, after all that time, the people accept them. Funny enough, the only survivors were the ones who pulled off the heist in the first place. At the end, Grunez walks into her office and it's revealed the villains are still alive. Despite all the hardships, she decides to give them a shot. Now they'll work as agents for the International Supergalactic League of Protectors. Grunez congratulates them. They're going to be secret agents, and that's how the movie wraps up.